I wanted to talk to you today because it's Mental Health Awareness Week in New Zealand, actually I think around the world at the moment. So I wanted to talk to you today about social connections and why they're so important for increasing your happiness. So this is one of the modules we have in our Resilience Toolkit e-course, module 7. So basically a social connection it looks different for everyone, and it's who in your social network provides you with support. So we look for if you look for the support and the connections you have in your communities are the most meaningful for you. So more meaning in our lives means we experience less stress, less anxiety and less depression. So the research is coming out that really shows that that's the case. So in order to find more meaning, it's about prioritizing people, beliefs and activities that give you more meaning. So what do social connections look like? Basically they can be found at home, in your job, in your workplace, amongst your friends, your family, like church groups, sports teams, volunteer groups and even online. So for example, we have a gratitude group as part of Awesome Inc, and that's kind of a nice little safe place to go for people to go and practice gratitude. And it's meaningful. So it's those meaningful connections that provide you with meaning and a sense of belonging. So that's what you need to look out for. So it's a real important part of our health and well-being. So even in New Zealand, so the government's Ministry of Social Development in New Zealand actually uses social connectedness as one of its key indicators of health in New Zealand, and it does measure it regularly. So the science behind social connections, so there's lots of studies going on. So some of the things that it directly impacts is longevity. So high social connections increase your chance of living longer than those with lower connections by 50%. I mean, that's 50%, that's huge. So it increases your immunity and your ability to recover from disease. The rates of depression and anxiety are lower if you have higher social connections. You're able to regulate your emotions better. And high social connectedness creates a positive feedback loop of social, emotional, physical well-being. So it's not about the amount of friends you have, it's how meaningful your social connections are to you. So do they give you a sense of purpose? Do they challenge you in a positive way? To learn more, to make a difference? Do they get you to think differently? Do they make you feel safe and understood? And do they validate your values and your contribution? So that's the important thing is the meaning and that sense of belonging for you. So okay, so how do we build social connections? For me personally, it's one thing I've noticed is that I work from home on my own, and my connections during the week are pretty much my immediate family, my husband and my kids. I mean, I drop the kids off at the school gate and I pick them up again at the end of the day. So it's making those real conscious efforts to once or twice a week, get out of the car, go into the school grounds and actually talk to other mums or, dads there picking up their kids, or even teachers, making those social connections. And so it might be also another thing I've done is I've joined my school's PTA just to get more involved, and I'm feeling like I'm actually doing something for the school community. So it's that meaningful connections, and through that I've made some friends, so double bonus. So social connections can be built by giving, sharing and supporting others. So and also things like being kind to people, acts of kindness, going out of your way to do things for other people. It's making those connections, volunteering for groups, for one-off community events or community programs. So it might be like me joining a school PTA, serving food for your local homeless shelter. My father-in-law does that, I think, weekly. Mentoring someone else, helping out in a local charity, coaching your kids' sports teams, all these kind of things give, you know, more meaning to your life. So, you know, even with acts of kindness, it could be just cooking a meal for a friend, collecting the mail for a neighbour, feeding their cat when they're away, you know, lots of little things. So all those little things give your life more meaning. But it also means being proactive. So taking up invitations you might not normally accept. You might think that might be just a courtesy. So it's actively, okay, going, okay, well, I'm going to make an effort. It might be easier to stay at home and curl up on the couch in your jammies and your Ugg boots, but it's getting out there and accepting those invitations. But it also means taking care of yourself. So when we are stressed, we tend to focus inwards. So we stop thinking about and noticing what's going on around us. And we stop responding to others. So, which starts this negative feedback loop and continues to decrease that social connection. So do all those things for yourself. You know, go for a walk, do some yoga, sit in the sunshine. All those things. Take care of yourself, and then that will, you know, it will boost those feelings of wanting to be connected to other people. So as another thing we offer through Awesome Inc. is we've got an email series running at the moment called the 7 Secrets to Happiness, and I will put the link in the comments. So there's also lots of, you know, that some of the tips in there are really strongly associated with being connected to others. So by, you know, going through those simple tips, you will see there's some really easy ways to just make those connections on a day-to-day, you know, time frame or whatever within your life. But on a personal level, ways you can feel connected, for example, to your spouse or to your family. A big one is physical touch. So actively listening and things like that. So the physical touch is actually fundamental to human connection. So you know, with your spouse or with your kids, think skin to skin, and there's, you know, things like touch therapy and stuff out there. Like, the research is showing that it is really important for making those social connections. So, you know, humans are wired to connect. You know, we get those oxytocin when our babies are born, and that, basically that physical touch, it signals a safety, a trust, it boosts your happiness, it reduces stress, it helps to soothe and to calm. So, and it activates the vagus nerve, the reward pathway to our brain. So we've got like these neurons in our skin, so touch, and, you know, can communicate things like compassion. So even when you might be having an argument and you want to actively, maybe not apologise, but show that you're listening by, you know, you touch your partner on the arm, or, you know, if you want them to listen to you, touch them on the heart, you know, get them to get that eye contact going, and that in itself is meaningful connection. So that eye contact, the warm gestures, they all release oxytocin. And incidentally, the research shows that sexual gestures do not release that oxytocin, you know. So, you know, we're talking about touch. It's that meaningful touch, it's that gentle, non-sexual touch, you know. So another thing, you know, you can do with your spouse is, you know, laugh, have a joke, be playful. You know, that all makes, you know, those really personal connections. That's one thing, you know, my husband does for me all the time. He makes our whole family laugh. He just, you know, he comes through the door singing a silly song or something, you know, it's just that playfulness is there. Also appreciation, obviously all about gratitude, and that if you're saying thank you to your spouse for something, you know, mowing the lawn, taking the rubbish out, keeping the kids occupied when you're on a phone call, anything, you know, say thank you. It's just those little gestures that then create this virtuous cycle of gratitude. So they might start thanking you more, or being more appreciative of things you do around the house. Also, another one is forgiveness. You know, don't hold on to grudges, you know, forgive and talk and communicate. Don't suppress those negative emotions, you know, talk through them, work it out. If, you know, you're suppressing those negative emotions rather than expressing them, that in itself creates more stress and more tension. So just little things to do. Also, incidentally, I was reading an article about social connections and talking about how, you know, in today's world we're more connected than ever through social media, etc. But we're actually we have less friends, and we have like teenagers spend less time out of the home. They're at the home more because they're, you know, like this on their phones or whatever. I mean, we have a rule here. I mean, my kids are only 7 and 9, but we have a rule that no devices in the bedroom. That's their safe place. So, you know, sometimes this social networks and things can be, you know, detrimental to our kids. So it's giving them that safe place, and being more connected to them by allowing them that safe place, and talking through that with them. So it's, you know, saying that we're more socially connected than ever through networks, but we're less physically connected. We have less friends. We're actually spending more time on our own because we're connected by devices or whatever. So just kind of keeping those things in mind. It's those meaningful connections. So, you know, the kids today, they probably have hundreds of thousands of friends on social media, but it's those meaningful, physical, one-on-one connections that are the most meaningful. So, yeah, as I said in the beginning, we talk about this in our resilience toolkit. So it's one of the modules in there. So you can buy that on its own or as part of the bigger e-course, and it's great. It's written for us by an educational psychologist, Juliet Battersby, and she's amazing. She's really informative about you know, what she knows, the latest research and all that. So it's really great if you get a chance to have a look. Other things, I mean, I bought this book yesterday, the Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. She's an American lady. And I mean, there's some really great tips in there, and she as well talks about how having strong social bonds is probably the most meaningful contributor to happiness. So, you know, the top positive psychologists, researchers out there, like Martin Seligman. So of the 24 character strengths, those that best predict life satisfaction are the interpersonal ones. So there's those interpersonal relationships. So, you know, Gretchen in here, some of the little tips she says about making connections, you know, with those people around you is, you know, things like remember birthdays. I'm terrible at remembering birthdays. And even when they come up on, you know, your Facebook timeline, it's just make that little effort to kind of stop and either email that person personally or put, you know, post on their timeline, happy birthday. It's just, you know, those little things that even those little things can help make those meaningful connections. So being generous, again, the acts of kindness, showing up. So, you know, showing up for people that, I mean, she talks about in here the case of a friend of hers had a new baby and she felt like, oh, I'm not sure whether I want to intrude. But, you know, then a friend said to her, well, do you remember the people that showed up for you when you had your kids? And it's true. I remember the people that dropped off the meals at my doorstep when I had my first baby. And it's those little meaningful connections that mean so much. So I'll also put a link on where you can buy some great books like this that I've been getting involved with. So anyway, thank you for watching. And as I said, Mental Health Awareness Week. So I'm definitely seeing lots more this week about mental health, and even through, you know, my own readings and things, you know, things I realised that are lacking in my own life, that, you know, I'm fairly, you know, an easygoing, happy person, but it's just those extra little things you can do to boost your happiness. So yep, get out there, make those social connections, and see how it makes a real difference to your life. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you again soon. Ciao.